Some of us may know who Amon Goth was, while others may not be aware of him. Amon Leopold Göth was an Austrian Nazi officer who became the commandant of the Płaszów concentration camp in Poland. He became a full member of the Nazi Party in 1931, after previously joining the Nazi Party's Austrian youth branch. His decision to join the party at an early stage earned him the title of Alter Kämpfer, which means someone who joined the Nazi Party before Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. Göth had also previously joined the SS Austria and became a full member in 1932 after undergoing 2 years of candidacy. He was appointed as an SS man with the SS number 43,673. Even before becoming a Nazi officer, Göth had a long history of involvement in nefarious activities. He was involved in the assassination of Chancellor Austria Engelbert Dollfuss during a failed Nazi coup in July 1934, and he became a fugitive for acquiring explosives for the Nazi Party. Göth returned to Vienna shortly after the Anschluss, the annexation of the federal state of Austria into the German Reich on March 12, 1938. After back in Vienna, Göth then resumed his party activities. In Vienna, Göth married a woman named Anna Geiger. Göth met the woman at a motorcycle race, in an SS civil ceremony on October 23, 1938. Before the wedding, the couple had to pass a series of rigorous physical tests imposed by the SS to determine the suitability of the marriage. Göth and Anna had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. The family maintained a permanent home in Vienna throughout World War II. Göth rose gradually through the ranks of the SS, and in 1941 he was promoted to Untersturmführer, or the equivalent of second lieutenant, and joined Operation Reinhard. Operation Reinhard was a Nazi campaign to kill Jews in occupied Poland, in 1942. He was appointed commandant of Płaszów in February 1943, but remained active elsewhere, such as overseeing the closure of the Kraków ghetto, Tarnow ghetto, and Sebny concentration camp. Because of his performance to the satisfaction of his superiors, Göth was promoted to Hauptsturmführer, or the equivalent of a military captain, in the summer of 1943. In the Płaszów camp, Göth ruthlessly and coldly committed many random and arbitrary killings of prisoners. Göth committed these heinous acts under the pretext of punishment for violations. Göth also often practiced shooting from the balcony of his villa, but prisoners who were working were used as targets for his training. More than that, in addition to taking human lives, according to some reports, Göth even executed the prison camp guard dogs, because the dogs preferred to be with the guards rather than with Göth. Not only did he commit random murders, the life of this cruel man in Płaszów was also mixed with illegal acts such as corruption. Göth sold foodstuffs for prisoners on the black market and sought profit from the suffering of others. In addition to his 2 marriages that had filled the early part of his life, Göth also had a 2-year relationship with Ruth Irene Calder, a beautician and aspiring actress originally from Breslau. Calder first met Göth in 1942 or early 1943 when she worked as a secretary at Oskar Schindler's enamel factory in Kraków. She met Göth when Schindler invited him to dinner at his villa in Płaszów, and it was love at first sight. After the two fell in love, Calder soon moved in with Göth and the two had an affair. On the other hand, in the midst of this forbidden romance, there was Anna, the wife who was hurt and affected by the harsh reality of her husband having an affair with another woman. Anna, who was still faithfully staying in Vienna, finally decided to file for divorce against Göth, and from the story of the bitter affair, it turned out that Calder was pregnant with the child of their illicit relationship. Under stressful and uncertain circumstances, Calder traveled to Bad Tolz to give birth, guided by her mother. In 2002, Monika Hertwig, Calder's daughter, published her memoirs under the title Ich muss doch meinen Vater lieben, oder? Or it mean, I have to love my father, don't I? Back to the beginning, after the war ended, Calder developed emphysema, and committed suicide in 1983, shortly after giving an interview in John Blair's documentary, Schindler. But on the other hand, after the war came to an end. In September 1944, Göth was arrested for the brutality and corruption of hiding loot from the SS. He was held in Breslau until October. and after being diagnosed with diabetes, he was sent to the SS sanatorium in Bad Tölz, Germany. Göth was captured by American forces in early 1945, and the Americans handed him over to the restored Polish government. The Polish government then tried Göth for his crimes during the war, most notably the murder of more than 10,000 people in the camps of Płaszów and Sebny, as well as in the ghettos of Kraków and Tarnow. But, facing charges that he felt were incriminating, Göth then entered a plea on the grounds that he was only following orders from his superiors. However, after a short trial, Göth was finally found guilty on September 5, 1946, and sentenced to hang 8 days later. Now that we've covered Amon Goth's cruel track record, we'll continue with the amazing story of a woman who is none other than Amon Goth's granddaughter. Jennifer Teege is a woman from Germany who works as a writer. She is the author of a book entitled, My Grandfather Would Have Shot Me. A black woman discovers her family's Nazi past, in 2013. Teege is the daughter of Monica Hertwig and a Nigerian man with whom she had a brief relationship. Teege's mother was severely depressed when she gave birth and took the baby to Salberg House, a Catholic home for babies in the suburbs of Munich. For the first few years of Teege's life, her mother sometimes came to see her at Salberg House and sometimes took the child to visit her grandmother. Soon, a foster family took Teege in when she was 7 years old and adopted her. The new family then insisted that Teege's birth mother refrain from any further contact. In addition, the new family also never told Teege that she was adopted, and never told her the background of her original family. Teege finally found out the truth of his family tree in a quite unique and fascinating way. The incident occurred in August when she was 38 years old. Teege was looking at books in a library near his area, and according to information from her, the library was not small, but quite large like the central library in the city of Hamburg. But even though there were hundreds of books of various kinds, his eyes were immediately attracted by a book with a red cover that was located on the shelf. While holding the book, Teege's eyes were immediately drawn to a small photograph on the cover. The photo featured an old woman who was around 40 years old. Teege then looked at the contents, the photograph and the biographical summary at the end of the book. The book taken by Teege was none other than Ich, muss doch meinen Vater lieben, oder? By her biological mother. In the book, the painful truth about his cruel and dark grandfather is revealed. When she got home, she read the book from beginning to end for 3 to 4 hours, and after finishing the book, she felt like there was a connection to the story in it, and to verify the information in it, she searched the internet. Until here, just imagine if you suddenly found out that you have the blood of a cruel killer. Shocking, isn't it? Well, back to the story. While Teege was looking for this information, German television also showed a documentary called Inheritance about his biological mother and Helen Jonas Rosenzweig, a Jewish maid who was the target of Amon Goth atrocities. Teege didn't watch the documentary until it was over, as she felt it was too heavy to see the intimate details about the absent mother in her life. Months after Teege watched the documentary, she then decided to go to Poland, to find the truth through the places his mother visited. She also met his biological mother and they visited his grandmother's meal, Calder. After the turmoil in his heart subsided upon learning he was the descendant of someone responsible for the death of 10,000 Jews. Teege then decided to write her story in a book entitled My Grandfather Would Have Shot Me. A black woman discovers her family's Nazi past. Teege feels quite certain that if her grandfather were still alive he would have been killed for failing to fulfill Arya's ideals. Now that she knew the background of her former family, Teege's heart felt more at ease. She tried to learn not to live in the past, and to live her life like any other normal parent. After their last meeting, Hertwig never called her daughter, because she felt it was too late to start a relationship. Well, that's the story of the life of a grandson of the Nazi Amon Goth, and the cruel journey of Amon Goth. Thank you for watching, and if you find any mistakes, please correct them in the comments.